Hi, my name is Pavel, and this video is about spaced repetition.
Well, Elon Musk will probably be the first person on the hit list of the monkeys who will evolve into their own civilization and supplant our own. His company Neuralink is actually doing pretty well for now. But I mean, they actually were able to implant the chip into human brain, and people can now control the computer interfaces with just the power of the brain, which is amazing. But my fellow transhumanists, let's face it, there will be plenty of time until this technology will be refined up to the point where everyone can use it and we can have telepathy, a seamless access to computer interfaces, and who knows what else. And so we are stuck with our meat brains for now, right? And we have to actually remember things, to study for an exam, to learn a new language, to, I don't know, remember the lyrics of Celine Dion. Whatever. But what if I told you that there's a method that really feels like a superpower? And this method is so easy that you have to spend just about 15 minutes a day, and then it literally feels like you're uploading things into your brain. Man, if only I knew about this method when I was a teenager, swatting for a test in the middle of the night, how much time I would have more for myself. I would definitely spend this time wisely and be a better person today, right? Alright, you know what this video is about. I literally told you that in the first few seconds.
Okay, so I've realized that not everybody actually knows what spaced repetition really is. I've asked a few of my colleagues, I mentioned that I'm shooting a video about the spaced repetition, and they were like, huh? Spaced repetition? What the heck is that? And here I thought it was a commonplace. So here's a little 20 seconds 101 for those who don't know what spaced repetition really is. In general, it's a very simple method. You have a card, a word, something that you need to learn.
So you take this card and you try to repeat it one day after. If you repeated it successfully, then you increase the interval to 3 days. After 3 days, if it was successful, you repeat it 5 days, and so on and so forth. If at any moment you fail to repeat a card, you have to start all over again. So that's kind of the crux of it. There's nothing more to it. It's spaced repetition.
In the first few seconds. But you know, the point is not that I tell you about spaced repetition, especially since you already know it long before me. Or maybe you don't know it, and then it's actually a very good thing to know about. So say thank you maybe, or don't say that, I don't really care. Anyway, the point is that I've made an experiment. You know how to study something, people use different mnemonic techniques at the same time. So for example, if you study a language, if you do that seriously, you're probably studying with a teacher, talking to someone, write something down, the sentences, the examples with words, etc., etc. Or maybe you are gamifying your experience with the help of a murderous green owl. This helps you to structure the things you are casting into your memory, create connections between them, and memorize them more effectively and in a natural way. Me? Well, I've only used spaced repetition for a year to find out how effective it is on its own. So this is Anki. This is maybe the most popular application for spaced repetition out there. And the way it works is that it gives you
the cards and you have to remember what it is. Like, for example, in Höhe von Dativ is in the amount of something. And if I remember this correctly, then I have the options here. For example, I can restudy this card. I can say that it was hard for me to remember this card, it was easy for me to remember this card, and depending on that, the interval, the space of this repetition will grow or decrease. Anyway, it will grow anyway because it will grow with time. If I remember this card correctly, then I can say that let's repeat this card in 1.5 years, and then because I remember this card good, I will say that okay, this is good. Anyway, I have here my collections. This is the 2 German collections, then 1 English collection, then an Armenian collection and Farsi collection. Why I need this, I don't know. Anyway, so why did I try to hardcode things into my brain in the first place? Well, firstly, as I said, because I wanted to study how well this method works on its own. Secondly, well, it's a very cheap method time-wise. You just spend 15 minutes a day wherever you are, like on a train, in a line to the single open cash register in Yedeka, in the toilet, wherever you are. And then that's it. For a day, you have ended up your study. And yeah, how well did it work? Let's look at the data. Let's go to the statistics. So I've been studying for a year now. You can see that each rectangle is a day, each square. And that's been happening for a year, and just 2 days were missing. Don't ask me what happened then. Here you can see the retention. The retention in the last year was 91.5. So about 90% of all those cards are currently in my memory, and I can say that I remember them. The 10% is, well, the other story, and maybe you can do better, but here I was doing just the spaced repetition. I almost wasn't doing anything else. Like in German, I was just barely speaking with anyone. So yeah, that's it. So this lasted for a year. And how do I think the results are? Well, they are pretty good. I can tell that there is about 90% of all the cards that I'm studying right now in my brain, and I can remember them whenever I need them. But would I recommend using this method alone? No, that is stupid. You should use all the mnemonic techniques, all the opportunities to practice whatever you are learning. At some moment, it just feels like a wasted time. For example, when you're trying to remember an exact synonym for the word provide that particularly this card is implying, it's just really not fun. One day I found out about one English word, which I of course added to my collection of English words. And this word was rote, R-O-T-E. This was this kind of meta-irony moment that made me realize that it's about time to finish my experiment. So let's go through a few takeaways from this experience that I had, and maybe you will learn something interesting about spaced repetition from a person who did it all wrong for a year straight. So what are the takeaways? First one is that the synonyms and leeches will kill you. If you are repeating a really large collection, for example, I have 4,000 words in my German collection, then there will be words that are similar to each other, and it's very hard to tell sometimes what is the difference. Anki has this feature where if you fail to repeat a card after 10 or something times, the card is marked as a leech and then pulled out of the collection for a time. Well, I've disabled this feature. Yeah, you know, I was trying to study as dumbly as possible, remember? So you please don't do that. Don't be like me. This feature is there for a reason. If you try to repeat the card and if you fail for many times, then the card becomes a blur. So the best way to avoid this thing is to try to rephrase the card, somehow reconfigure, maybe discuss it with ChatGPT and try to find what each of the synonyms is used where in which situation, then add it to the card so that you can remember that and avoid wasting time. So the second thing is that if you really enjoy this 15 minutes a day concept and you don't really want to increase your effort, there's another simple thing that you can do that will still be better than just repeating the cards in your head. And this thing is to say them out loud, and that also with some special intonation. At some point, well, at least it worked for me like that, I remembered the intonation with which I was saying the other side of the card, and this helped me to remember the card. Another thing that I've come up with was gesticulations. For example, there's this word unalloyed, and in Google it says that the meaning is complete and unreserved. And so I've tried to remember it as complete and unreserved. I don't know if it makes sense, but please don't judge me. So the standard Anki lacks this feature, but maybe there are plugins to do it, or maybe there's another application in general. But what I've noticed is that when you cannot remember the card, but it's kind of tip of the tongue, you almost remember it, but not quite. You can still try to do some other stuff, completely switch the context in your brain, or go study another collection, which I do, for example. And then when you go back to it, there's some probability that you will remember it on the second time. So I theorize that this is better for you generally to remember this card, not only because you don't have to restudy it all over again, but also because the brain finds the original neuron connection and activates it again. Whereas when you make the Anki show you the other side of the card, you actually create a new connection. So that is that. So last but not least, or maybe it is the least, I don't know, I've realized that this everyday ritual, which usually happens in the morning, is a good way to measure your overall brain capability, brain health, I don't know. The point is that if you study the cards early in the morning and it goes pretty successfully, you remember most of the cards, then that actually usually means that you slept well, you had an active day before, whatever your watch is telling you every time, like you had a productive day, and today you will be very fit and perfect, whatever. Whereas if you had a night out and this morning you have a hangover, you probably will not remember many of the words, and it will be 80% of successful repetition or something like that. And so it sometimes helps me to understand whether I'm fit for the day or not quite, and I have to be more lenient, so to say. So maybe that is something also useful. I know that you are so tired to look at all those beautiful backdrops of Alps, so back to them.
So this was the video about spaced repetition. I can't promise, but maybe next year I will make another one where I actually pay more attention to the words. If I can't remember the words, I will practice, write down some sentences, examples, and study a bit more. And then maybe this video can have a continuation where we can compare the numbers even and see if the retention gets any better. And for now, please like and subscribe. The usual drill, you know, but no less appreciated. This is the first video on my channel, and I hope it's not the last. Ha 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 ha. But the thing is, I have a lot of ideas for videos in the future. For example, I want to make a video about hedonic treadmill and artificial intelligence, of course. Yeah. So stay tuned and thank you. See you in the next one.